So Square Enix has been putting some pretty good games on the Nintendo Switch lately, such as Octopath Traveler and Bravely Default 2, and I thought it'd be fun to do another game versus game with these two juggernauts here. I'm Falcon Zero. If this is the first time on the channel, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date with more videos like this, throw the massive sword the notification bell so you're always updated when a video goes out, and with that underway, let's talk about these two games and which one is going to be better. So starting off, we're gonna actually look at the art style and the graphics in this game. And usually I don't like to put graphics in it, but I'm gonna actually put like more towards the art style of it just to give it kind of a little bit unique feel. But Square Enix gives both of these games such a unique feel because they have wonderful art styles that they did in this game. Starting with Octopath Traveler, you get that SNES 16-bit era kind of feel for this game, but it's in beautiful HD, especially when you're in the environments and the towns. It just looks gorgeous when you get to look at all those backgrounds in there. And yes, the characters are just 16-bit, but they look so good in HD. And now with Bravely Default 2, looking at theirs, they also have a really gorgeous looking art style they do too. And obviously the graphics look a lot more modern on Bravely Default 2. But one thing I think that they did lack a little bit on is actually when you're looking down on the towns and the environments that you're in, I actually feel like Octopath Traveler had a better art style even though they had that 16-bit era going on than Bravely Default 2. Now when I was looking at Bravely Default 2, I kind of almost felt like it was an enhanced HD version of the 3DS game of Bravely Default, and I got a little bit of vibes off there, and I think they actually could have pushed it a little bit farther than they could have, but they didn't. But you know, the art style is still great in both these games, but the first point on this, I'm gonna have to give it to Octopath Traveler. And the next category I want to go over is the gameplay aspect. And both of these games made by Square Enix, this was a very tough category to go over because they both play so similarly. It was really hard to pick a winner of what I would do with this. You know, starting off with Octopath, you get the battle points that you get and you can store these up and you can use multiple attacks in the same turn. Bravely Default has that too. You can, you know, use the Brave command and you can either lose turns if you go in the very beginning or use the default and store them up and use all your attacks for an all-out attack later. So it's very similar on how you can use the battle mechanics in this game. If you've played either one, you're gonna fit right in because you're gonna know how to play this game pretty easily. And still sticking with the gameplay on this, you have different abilities and you can change these characters to have different jobs, you can have sub-jobs. It's so crazy, like playing Bravely Default 2 or Octopath Traveler, they just feel like Square Enix games, and obviously you could see that there was influence on both of these games going into each other here, but it's also made by Square Enix. But how do we pick a winner from this? Well, there was one attribute that I actually found very helpful out of these games because they played so similarly, was Bravely Default 2 had a fast forward mode if you wanted to kind of just level up and grind, which was really nice. Octopath Traveler didn't have that function, but if you just needed to grind something out and just get some levels up, you can fast forward through it really fast, all the way up to 4 times the speed, and be done with the battle pretty fast. That was a really nice feature that Bravely Default 2 added that I'm gonna have to give the second point here to Bravely Default 2. And let's go over the story with no spoilers. Just in case you haven't played this game, don't worry, this will be totally spoiler free. But Octopath Traveler has 8 different characters that you get to pick from, 4 of them in your party at one time, and they all have 4 different chapters to complete, which is actually a bit of content there, and that's a lot of story to go through Octopath Traveler. With Bravely Default 2, you're only going to use 4 characters, and that's it though too, but you don't really get to switch any of them out in between your party. Sometimes they add a character in there, but actually you could also do that with Octopath 2. You'd have someone kind of traveling with you for a short time, which that happens in both of the games. But Bravely Default 2 did, I think, a better way of intertwining everyone's story in there, as when you were traveling with them, one thing that I thought was a really nice touch is when you were going into different towns, you'd actually see the people that you were traveling with and you would interact with them, and they were all in the story together. As when you were playing Octopath Traveler, you were doing somebody's chapter for their story, and you'd see all the cutscenes with that one person, but the people that were in your party, there was no real connection other than they were just kind of helping you fight. They had no interaction at all, which felt a little weird sometimes because it just felt like they were pushed and shoved in there with you just to help you fight, but they had no say to the story at all, and it didn't really do anything. So it kind of just felt like it was more forced upon you that they had to be there just because you had to have 4 people in your party. Then with Bravely Default 2, the story in that one, it was more intertwined and it was a much more better flowing story. And with that said, I'm gonna have to go with the winner for this game versus game with Bravely Default 2. For just having, it was a better story overall. The gameplay was really actually pretty close, but it was just a little bit over the edge on Bravely Default 2 there. But Octopath, I have to give it to it. Those visuals were just amazing in that game. Do you agree with my picks? I would love to know in the comments below if you agree with me or not. Are you going to be picking up one of these games? If you like this video, please smash that like button as it really does help out. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell to stay up to date with more videos like this. And as always, everyone of YouTube, show me your moves.